the cowboy. He's an American icon that represents the adventure, the wide open spaces, and the freedom of the West. The image typically portrayed is rugged, young, and white. But there were other faces, other races, that worked the long cattle drives and pioneered the new sport honed from their skills learned on the trail called rodeo. Today, that tradition lives on.
It was just a deal that I tried, and I'm like, man, I'm hooked on this. And I started riding steers, man, and made a profession out of it.
Modern rodeo is an international sport with millions of dollars on the line. Rodeo's popularity is growing fast, and a driving force in its success comes from Cowboys of Color. Rodeo is a $1 million business with a humble beginning. The thrill and excitement attracts cowboys and fans from all walks of life, and black cowboys have been a big part of rodeo from the very start. Cleo Hearn has seen it all. He's a legend in the business. For over 60 years, he's been on the road and in the saddle.
Years ago, it wasn't black cowboys. It was colored cowboys. You was a colored person years ago when I was a little boy. So they had an all-colored rodeo in Boley, Oklahoma, which is a all-colored town. So I went over to see the rodeo. My mother paid somebody to take me to the rodeo. And I saw this guy named Marvell Rogers. Marvell was, he was a big, strong African-American cowboy from Idabel, Oklahoma. He was probably one of the very first guys that had a professional card.
Marvell Rogers got Cleo Hearn started in his career as a professional rodeo cowboy at a time when black riders were shut out of white events.
I couldn't ride during the rodeo. I could ride after the rodeo. And that's when I say ride. My most success came in the time events at Calf Roping and Bulldog. When I say ride, I mean ride the bucking horses and all that. They just didn't let blacks ride, but you could compete. But I can tell you one thing, you wasn't gonna win first or second. You're gonna win third or fourth, you can depend on that.
Hearn went from being a performer to an organizer and producer of rodeos all over the country. His biggest event of the year is at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Arena. The Cowboys of Color rodeo began when a few riders didn't enter, thinking it was an all-black event.
That's when the word Cowboys of Color came out. It's being part Indian. See, the theme of the Cowboys of Color rodeo is, let us educate you while we entertain you. Let us tell you the wonderful things that blacks, Hispanics, and Indians did for the settling of the West that many history books left out. So we're still in the process of educating, but the main thing, we're entertainers.
No score. Donnell Tipton, Spencer, Oklahoma, he's getting set. Sour Mash is the bull that he's matched up with. And
entertainer Donnell Tipton is accustomed to the spotlight as a two-time international professional rodeo world champion bull rider.
I get asked all the time, you be scared to get on bulls? If I was scared, I wouldn't do it. But I'm gonna tell you, butterflies can fly me away. Cause your stomach can get it's just nerves. But you already know what I come to do. I come to get this sucker done and get me a check and go home.
Donnell Tipton has got it on his mind. He came here tonight to ride bulls and, pretty much a textbook bull ride.
In Spencer, the local rodeo arena bears his name. It's a tribute to a man who spent his entire life promoting his one great passion.
I've been rodeoing all my life. I rodeoed when my mom was pregnant with me. She rode with us in our belly, and from then on, I think that's why I got a hard head. And
As 8 years old, I chose, to want to get on a steer at one of the little open rodeos, and I got on a steer, and, from then on, who let the door open? Yes! Yes! It was a thrill-seeking event of rodeoing. It was exciting, and once you got down on one of them, the adrenaline, gets to flowing, and from then on, I just took off with it, man, and it was something that was born in me. And like I said, I didn't know that I was gonna make, rodeo a profession of mine. It was gonna be my job.
Let's go, Cashman.
Linda Brown is new to rodeo. During the summer, she competes in about 8 to 10 events.
I practice right now about 4 days a week. When you've got a family, you've got to balance work, family, and rodeo. Sit down and ride your horse right there. Eventually, I'd like to do it full time. I'd like to go on the road and possibly start doing some pro rodeos and one day make it to the NFR. I think that's all the cowboys and cowgirls dream is the NFR, the big one.
Did you have a good day at school today?
Yeah.
Yeah? What'd you learn?
Steer wrestler Kendall Parker knows the dream. He learned to ride about the time he learned to walk.
You going to the rodeo with me tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah? You gonna ride or you just going to watch?
I wanna ride.
You gonna ride too? I grew up around horses and in rodeo. My grandparents rodeo. Some of my aunts and my uncles, just kind of a family thing. And I took to it, I love it, so that's what I do. It doesn't always go according to plan. I've got hitting everywhere you can think of with horns. It's timing. It's all about timing. And then you steer. It has a mind of his own. Sometimes he runs and sometimes he wants to stop. So you kind of have to be ready for whatever they throw at you.
Cowboy competition can be traced back to the ranches of the early 1700s, when the Spanish ruled the West. The chores of the Spanish cattlemen, known as vaqueros, would evolve directly into the events of steer wrestling, team roping, and bronc riding. In the early 1800s, Americans from the East came into contact with Spanish, Mexican, Californio, and Texican cowboys and began to adapt their styles. After the Civil War, many former slaves sought the wide-open spaces of the West.
A lot of people don't realize the cowboy that rode the range was the first group of people that were ever paid the same amount of money. If you was a cowboy and you brought cattle from Texas up here to Oklahoma or whatever that the one made, that's what everybody made.
When railroads and barbed wire ended the long trail rides, the days of the diverse hands working side by side ended as well. Like most things, rodeo in America was segregated for over 100 years. That began to change in the early 1960s, and today the arena is open to any cowboy who can hold on.
When people go to rodeos, main event they love to watch is bull riding. Bull riding was a spectacular event of rodeo, and it was something that that was energizing. People get on the edge of their seat. They want to see a wreck. I don't want to be in the wreck, but they want to see a bull run somebody over. They want to see a bull hook somebody and throw them in the air. I have a job that has to be done. My job is 8 seconds. When I nod and I ask for that gate and that gate come open, you forget about the scariness. You forget about everything else. You forget about the butterflies. You forget about all that because everything is perfect timing. There's been plenty of times that my hand got hung in a rope and I'm looking at these bulls eye to eye. I'll be between their horns looking at them like, oh God. I can't, I call him Mama. Mama!
Bull riding has been called America's oldest extreme sport, and 8 seconds of insanity. It's also the fastest growing sport in the world.
Just getting word, gentlemen, a sellout crowd here in the Sprint Center, 12,500 in attendance.
Top athletes can make millions just for climbing aboard 2,000 pounds of beef that's hell-bent on grinding them into the dirt.
Mike Lee just got bushwhacked.
In 2012, PBR paid out $9 million to riders and $2 million to the bulls, or their owners. Bull riding has gone from small arenas and county fairs to the uptown corral of Madison Square Garden. PBR broadcasts go out to 500 million people worldwide. There are strong fan bases for the sport in Great Britain, Mexico, Australia, Brazil, and there's growing interest in Asia. When Donnell is not traveling all over the country competing as a professional bull rider, he's working as a police officer in Spencer, trying to give at-risk teens a new direction.
This is a reality check program. I'm Officer Tipton. This is Officer Justin. Today y'all on a trip to Lexington State Penitentiary. Y'all ever been there? Y'all know somebody there? Since I become a police officer, you know, and I start dealing with all kind of criminals. I start dealing with all kind of kids that was in the mischief, you know, stealing, robbing, shooting, gang banging, bullying. Are you gang banging? If you are, you're gonna wish you wasn't. I was taking so many to the county, you know, to jail, period. And it got to the point to where I was like, you know what? I have to make a difference because a lot of kids know who I am. A lot of kids watch me on television. So it's got to the point to where I had to say, you know what? I have to start something to keep these kids out of trouble. When you put this uniform on, everybody's your enemy. He said, because you never know who don't like cops. And you have to be on your P's and Q's. Same thing in the bull riding. When you step down in that bucket chute on top of the back of one of these suckers weigh a ton, anywhere from 1,000 to a ton. You know, he's not your friend. You know, he's the enemy. So I'm supposed to get him done.
Now trying to spur with that outside leg, and Tipton again just kind of gutting it out, making the whistle just like.
I done been knocked out. I had them baseball bats is what we call them. Them horns come out, them baseball bats done been put on me before. You know, so I stay in shape though. I live in the gym. You know, I work out like crazy I work out 4 or 5 times a week. You know, and that keeps me going now. You know, I'm 40 years old now. I'll be 41 come July. But I can go hard in the paint still. I can go hard, and I can go hard with any of these youngsters out here, and they know it. You know, if Donnell Tipton's into the bull riding, be nervous, because you're competing for second. Have y'all ever been in these before?
When Donnell joined the Spencer Police Department in 2009, he began thinking about the future.
You know, I decided, you know, I had a son. My son is 5 years old now, you know, and it kind of made me want to stay closer to home and rodeo closer to home. You have to have a backup plan because I'm going to tell you, you can't ride bulls for the rest of your life. You can't. You have to start them investments like I did. You know, I started my investments, started saving money. As soon as I started winning over $200,000 or $300,000 a year riding bulls, you know, I started investing. I had to start getting my game plan together. That way, at 45, I could say, if I want to retire, I'm done. You know, we don't get paid the millions and millions of dollars that the baseball players and the football players get paid. You know, that's one thing we don't do. And one thing right now, bull ridings are paying millions of dollars right now. You know, we have the PBR that came up. You know, I've been to the PBR finals a few times. You know, the number one man is winning millions of dollars now, 1.7 million just to be exact.
The first riders perform for free. At the end of long trail rides, the Cowboys would often hold informal competitions among different outfits to see which ranch had the best riders, ropers, and drovers. Many of the best were black, like Nat Love, Jesse Stahl, and Bill Pickett.
Bill Pickett, he was a ranch hand on the 101 ranch, you know, Ponca City. And he worked several ranches, out north and out east and stuff like that. There were cattle driving. Bill went after a steer that went away from the herd, and I guess the steer wasn't going the direction that he wanted to go in, so he decided he was going to jump on it.
Got off his horse. He had a steer that they couldn't catch, and he jumped off his horse and bit him on the nose and threw him to the ground. And now it's a rodeo event, you know. People are jumping off horses. We ain't exactly biting them on the nose, but we're throwing them on the ground.
To this day, I wish Bill Pickett was living, because I'd be like, man, what the heck did you kiss this steer for in the lip? I mean, what are you biting for? I mean, because who would have thought? But to know that's a horse's and a cow's sensitive part of their body is their lip and up under their chin. The nerves, everything runs through here. And so you can grab them by the lip, you can bite their lip, and they're gonna go to the ground. That's what made him famous.
As a bulldogger, Kendall Parker carries on the tradition.
This is Lucky, that's my bulldogging horse, and I've had him for about, I don't know, 8 years or so now, and I've won a lot of money on him. He's been good to me. I try to practice 2 or 3 times a week, but when I go to the practice pen, I try to work on one thing at a time. I mean, we do a thing called shoot dog, and that's where you just get in there with the steers and you throw them down on the ground. And then I'll go in another day and I work on my horse. It just depends on what it is or where I'm messing up. I try to work on what I done wrong at the last rodeo before I go to the next one. The first time, I don't even remember. It was like I just blacked out. And when I got up, everybody else was telling me how it went. And usually that's a good thing, because usually it happened pretty quick. And that's the name of the game, who can throw him down the fastest. The ones you do remember, I mean, it took you quite a while, so it's something you need to work on. Some people say it's crazy, you know. Most people that I talk to say, you know, they never thought of jumping off a horse, running that fast, but it's a lot of fun to me. It's just breath of fresh air for me. I mean, I have a lot of fun with it.
At the Eastside Roundup Club Arena in Spencer, Kendall, Donnell, and other cowboys perform for hundreds of excited kids.
I decided to put a kids rodeo together. And what it is, it's a 2-hour rodeo field trip for Oklahoma City Public Schools out here.
Today looked like we had a sellout crowd that we was calling in the rodeo business. Yeah. We want to venture out and branch up. We want to look to go into a big arena so we can invite in more schools, Oklahoma City schools, Dale City, all kids all over the state of Oklahoma.
Go, 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 go.
It really starts when you're a kid. I used to go to rodeos when I was old enough. I can go back there and sit on back of the buck and shoots. You know, I sat on back and watch all the cowboys back there that was competing in the day. My 5-year-old, you know, he competes in the Edmond Junior circuits. You know, and he's a mutton buster. He rides sheep. And he didn't won buckles. He's a cowboy, and he'll tell you, "Damn, I'm a cowboy." You're right. You know, he got it honest.
When you look at the kids and the ages that they start, you look at it and you're like, that's the future. These kids are starting at a young age, and like I said, there's many of us, I wish I would have started at that age. I mean, imagine where I would have been if I would have started at 5 or 6 years old.
Linda Brown is a barrel racer. When she's not wearing boots, she works as a neonatal nurse at Integris Baptist Hospital in Oklahoma City. After a long day in the ward, it takes some saddle time to ease the pressures of the day.
It's very special to me. It's something about, you know, you're on a 1,000-pound animal, and it's actually you guys are working together. Not many people say that they can actually experience what it feels like to even ride a horse. So for you guys to work together and go through and run a barrel pattern, it's just an amazing feeling. It's kind of an adrenaline rush. You know, you're going at a fast pace, and it's just you, your horse, and a timer, and 3 barrels, and you get out there and you run your pattern and hope that your time is better than what it was before. I think that's kind too, because you have little kids that are looking at you, and maybe back in the back of their mind, they're wanting to be a cowboy or a cowgirl, and then when they see you out there doing it, I think it gives them inspiration that that's maybe something that they want to try one day. Most of the time, the people that I run into are pretty excited about it, because they look at me and they would never guess this, you know, something that I come out and do and get dirty and ride horses and have a good time with it.
Many of Oklahoma's black towns have disappeared, but the tradition of black rodeo remains a cause for celebration.
It's every weekend we have a rodeo. Boley, Oklahoma. We have Clearview, Oklahoma. We have Okmulgee, Oklahoma. You know, we have Bristow, Oklahoma. You know, there's a circuit of open rodeos that, you know, people look forward to, and they've been going every year. You know, we have Boley during Memorial Weekend. You know, that rodeo's been going on now 105 years.
Boley is the tradition. Cowboys of Color is the main event. The Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Arena holds 10,000 people, and every year it's sold out.
It's actually turned into the biggest rodeo that we have around here. There's just people that come from everywhere to watch it. There's cowboys that come to participate. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, they start advertising it months before it comes around, so people are prepared for it. I mean, it's a huge rodeo.
What I really enjoy about that is that it's real diverse. I mean, even though it's Cowboys of Color, you have people of all nationalities. With me being part African American and part Native American, you know, it's important that I share my heritage with other people. And I think with Cowboys of Colors, you're able to do that, and it's like a big family. Everybody basically knows everybody, and you know, you go out there and you wish the best for everybody. You want everybody to win.
Among the Cowboys, there is a diversity of not just race, but experience as well, with new riders just starting out competing with skilled professionals. Tommy Cook has been to the big time, the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Well, it was an experience, that's for sure. I got my card back in '93, started going in '94. It was good, it was tough. Back in those days, there was a lot of prejudice, so I had to deal with that, plus try to win, and travel by myself. And you know, it was an ordeal there at first, but to get to the ultimate goal, it was great.
The life of a professional rodeo cowboy is lived on the road in 1,000 arenas all over North America.
You know, I went to 130 rodeos in a year. You know, I traveled up and down that road. You know, I flew everywhere. You know, and still to this day, you know, I go to 3 or 4 rodeos a weekend. You know, I'm always busy right now.
Change of direction, still there, and down he comes right at the whistle. Has to make a quick escape, still not done.
I done had pulled muscles, I done had punctured lung, cut liver, ruptured spleen, staples all in my head, broke jaw. You know, I done been through it. But you know, this is the profession I chose, and this is a rough man's, you know, it's a game. It's the toughest event on dirt.
As the crowds begin to stream in and fill the seats, the excitement builds. While attending the million details and getting the show going, Cleo Hearn has overlooked something.
I even forgot about today was my birthday. Today's my 75th birthday. This arena that we're standing in right now, I was the first African American to ever rope a calf in this arena.
On this night, it's filled with a few of his friends.
If you would put your hands together for this gentleman, he's celebrating his 75th birthday today. From Lancaster, Texas, and you would Mr. Cleo Hearn.
As he scans the crowd, the children's faces catch his attention.
I see myself in them. I see the person that if this is a kid out there who wants to be a cowboy, I don't care if he wants to be a professional cowboy or a young lady who wants to be a barrel racer, come to me. I'm going to help you. I may not be a barrel racer, but I have friends that are barrel racers.
When the bull riders enter the chute, every seat is filled and all eyes are fixed on the gate, waiting for the bull to explode into the arena.
As a kid, I would come to these rodeos and I would sit behind the bucket chutes, and my whole objective was to watch the bull riding, because that's what the thrilling seeker event of rodeoing.
All right, man. There we go. Yes, sir. Mr. Thorne, stay right there.
Now, you know, probably within the last 8 years, Pony Express becomes so popular to these kids because they like to see a horse race. And it's just like, you know, the relay race on ground when you run in the, you know, 50-yard dash or something like that, but we're on horseback.
Two teams, 8 riders each, pass the baton as they race around the barrels. Every fan is on their feet, cheering as the race speeds to the finish.
Talking about exciting, these people love it.
This will be one of the highlights of my life today, this rodeo. It means that I was able to progress the African Americans in a field that they was not noticed in. And to see these kids getting rodeo scholarships and doing all of the many things that they do, it's a pride factor that it makes you want to cry, to think that God picked me to do these things.
It's a big thing to me. Just the respect, because there's not a lot of black cowboys, and to me it's good to be a part of. You're doing something positive and something for kids, young kids, black kids, all kids, to look up to. It's something positive, and I've had a lot of kids ask me, just is there anything that they can do to make themselves better, and I just tell them, I believe that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. I believe if you put your mind to it and you believe in the good man upstairs, you can do anything.
The sport of rodeo is expanding rapidly, picking up new fans every year and even moving into new countries like Brazil. Experts in the business say that bull riding has the growth potential to become a major league sport. A big part of that bright future will include the men and women who have competed in rodeo from the start, the Cowboys of Color.
For a DVD copy of this program, please send a check or money order for $22.95 to the OETA Foundation, Post Office Box 14190, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73113. Or to place a credit card order, call 800-879-6382 during regular business hours.